Sage are saying they may delay the end of lockdown beyond the 21st of June. Boris is saying we're on track at the moment, but it's obviously open to shifting the goalposts further. You and I have been talking about our frustration of the goalposts being shifted, the light at the end of the tunnel being extinguished. Of course, with the Indian variant being more transmissible, with cases tripling, just how much of a threat is it? Well, to answer that question, I'm joined by the senior clinical lecturer of the University of Exeter Medical School, and of course he's an infectious disease management expert as well, Dr. Bharat Pankhania. Evening to you, Dr. Bharat.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Christo.
Second vaccine yesterday for me, by the way.
Well done. Well done.
I haven't started quoting Bill Gates or loading up Windows 98 or anything like that. So it seems seems a lot of those fears were slightly unfounded, as if we didn't know. But there do seem to be these fears, don't there, about this Indian variant. And I think a lot of people are saying, well, just how could we not have been prepared for this? How could we possibly be in a situation when we've all been so patient, we've all been doing so well, where we have members of SAGE saying, well, actually, June the 21st might not happen then after all?
So what we have to know about the biology is variants can arise from anywhere, India, Africa, or Kent, for that matter. And this particular one appears to be gaining a dominance. The good news is, as yet, we haven't got any evidence, clear evidence, that it is more disease causing. That's good news. It is becoming more prevalent, and the implications, it's just an implication, is that it is probably more infectious. The good thing about the United Kingdom, what is in our favor, is people like yourself, like myself, and many others, 18 million plus now, have been immunized. And those sensitive groups who are immunized are, we feel, going to be protected by the Indian variant. So all those are good news.
And of course, when you are vaccinated, it becomes, I read somewhere from the 27th of April's Public Health England report, it's about when it comes to family transmissions between people in households, it's about 50% less if everyone's been vaccinated. So therefore, presumably that will apply to any of the variants as well?
Hopefully. And I was just going to say, so far, so good. But what we want to do is suppress infections, variants or otherwise, because one of these days, a variant that bypasses vaccines may arise, and then that will knock us for six. So it is in our interest, not only for variants, but for infections per se, we suppress them. That way we keep the emergence of variants to as low a number as we can. It's not easy because it's a global thing.
And so how do you suppress the variants, though, without, because that sounds suspiciously like lockdowns again?
No, not at all. There are several other things we can also do. So good infection control and all those things that we've already done. But in addition, immunization, because as you just said, and I agree with you, Christo, is when you immunize, that immunized person is less of a transmitter, and they are definitely protected against severe disease. So many reasons to immunize. So for example, where I see large increases in cases like Bolton at the moment, what I would be doing is introducing a hit squad to go and immunize as many people as possible in that regional area. And at the same time, in that regional area, have a cordon of caution whereby you make sure you are controlling the test, trace, isolate, and all those functions you can to contain it and keep the case numbers down.
So based on that, then, is it irresponsible for SAGE, members of SAGE, to be saying things like June the 21st, there is a chance that that might have to be further delayed? If we do have those tools in place, which seemingly we do for testing now, seemingly, I remember speaking a few weeks ago about COVID marshals and about how worrying it was that COVID marshals were being kept on. But presumably it's for occasions exactly like this as to why they're on being kept on with councils, so that they can administer vaccines, administer surge testing. if required, if we have those tools in place, if we have the vaccine in place, should SAGE or any other government department or any other government body be even mentioning that it might be beyond June 21st? Because I think that based on what you're saying, that's quite irresponsible, actually.
No, but the issue is, and everybody errs on the side of caution, is if we don't do what we should be doing, we will lose control. And if you lose control, you end up with having a bigger, extensive lockdown measures. So, warning signals. We should have put India on the red list a long time ago. We should have controlled the entry of people from India or having been in India over the previous 14 days, scrutinized carefully, keep them under quarantine, etc. We didn't do a lot of that. Now we've got those cases in different parts of the country. Now we've got the homework to do, which is control it. And I again repeat, it will only work, and it will only work well if we relinquish centralized test and trace.
And have we done that? Have we done that? Have we
relinquished? No. We still have that centralized testing, which, although the local authorities are now slowly, incrementally taking over, I would like the government to hand it over to the local authorities to deal with local outbreaks. They do it much better. I deal with it every day, Christo, and my experience is my team and I do a wonderful job. We don't go home until we are satisfied that we've done a good job and everything is safe before locking off for the day. So those sort of things can only happen when you are dynamically in charge locally. And we really need to allow local authorities all over the country, local teams, to run the show.
All right. So what do you predict? I mean, based on the tripling of these Indian variant cases, based on the failure of the government to centralize testing, based on the failure of the government to swiftly put India onto the red list, which I think a lot of people were quite perplexed by, do you think we're going to be on track for June 21st?
At the moment, so today in May, if we contain it in the places where the hotspots are, we may be. But if we don't, we have a problem.
And do you acknowledge the damage? I realize you're not the one doing this, but do you acknowledge the damage that is potentially being done to all of our mental health by because I understand what you're saying, that we sort of need to get the balance right between, if we say, look, no, it's all great, we're on course, June 21st, brilliant, people might relax and, you know, not respect perhaps the rule of 6, or they might relax and think, great, I can go and see whomever. But if we don't give people hope that June the 21st is going to be pretty definitive, well, I'll return back to all of these issues that we've got with people's mental health and people feeling like they've done so much with no reward. And I think that there's almost an argument to say that that could be more damaging. So it really is a tight balance, isn't it?
It is a tight balance, but what we must always, I mean, my experience tells me over and over again, always be honest, always be truthful, always be sincere. And I feel, don't give false hope, but you are, you know,
I think we need some hope. We need some hope.
No. And it is good hope, as I have said, with my series of explanations, that we are 18 million immunized. We're immunizing at pace. We now need to immunize all the hotspot areas. We need to contain and control it in those hotspots. And if we do and we succeed, we will find that we can carry on with easing the restrictions. Having said that, if we do not control it and contain it today, we may have a problem come June the 21st.
And is there anything else we can all be doing? I mean, you know, the pubs from Monday, for instance, are going to be open inside for the rule of 6. I mean, obviously, you know, a lot of these places are going to be absolutely dependent on our business, the economy's got to get up and running again. And we've heard some quite good news this week about it bouncing back. What can we all be doing?
Well, I've always said, and I've said this for now more than a year, don't drop your guard. There is a lot you can do and not drop your guard. Both of those things are possible. So with respect to don't drop your guard is don't go around mixing with a large number of people that you don't know, people who are not immunized, etc. And yet at the same time, Christo, you and I are going to go out for a drink one day. Of course we can
A
do things
drink, we're
like
going to have
that.
a bottle, Doctor. We're going to have
Yes.
we're going to drink the bar dry.
Well, I can't drink that much anymore these days, but we will have a celebratory drink together one day.
Well, listen, just one final thing. Is there a halfway house here? For instance, could what you are describing be solved by restrictions ending on June 21st? However, still perhaps needing masks, or still perhaps needing social distancing, but in increased numbers, or is something like that just not practical?
No, there's a lot of things practical, and I use the Swiss cheese model. And the more you do today, the better the rewards tomorrow. So if people do their bit of controlling infections, controlling getting infected, especially the groups of people who have not been immunized, then a better tomorrow is almost around the corner. That's the way to look at it. And that's the way I would advise people is we're almost there, 18 million people fully immunized. We continue with that. Warm weather is coming. Just keep your network down for the time being. Better times will come.
All right, Dr. Bharat Pankhania, looking forward to that drink. Thank
I
you,
do too.
Senior
Thank
Clinical
you.
Lecturer at the University of Exeter Medical School. So all isn't lost for June 21st.